Hello, I'd just like to take another step forward here. This is a continuation of an example of building a contact form using Adobe's Dreamweaver CS6. So in the first tutorial I basically laid out a simple contact form. Here I pick up having added several more fields to the contact form. So now not only do I have just a name, I'm now having collect the first name, the last name, telephone number, email, and I put a comments box in here, all using the Spry validation fields that are available here within Dreamweaver. Now I want to make it clear to you that there's several fields. When you place them in here, of course it generates your code, and if you look over here, they're all existing within the form tags that are in our HTML. So this is all that got generated. Now because we're using Spry, I also want to point out that it added another script section here at the bottom of your HTML file. And once again, this is generated by Dreamweaver, and there's really no need to really mess with these unless you want to edit them manually. But you can see that if you made changes to the property inspector for these items, some of those settings, such as validation or no validation, or how many characters I'm going to put in the field here, that can all be edited in there manually. So it's kind of neat to see you can do some of this development manually, or you can lean on the tool a little bit more. Now what I want to point out right now is, how do you make this form actually work? I ran out and I pulled up a site here. It's called Free Contact Form, and all it is a simple, free to use HTML form, but down at the bottom here is a little bit of PHP code. You're going to want to copy this and paste it into a blank file, a text file, or you can use Dreamweaver here. So what you do is you can open up a new file, and you're going to save it as a .php. It's not a .htm, it's not a .css. So once you have that in here, you'll see that it's a little bit of programming code, if you will, and this is all PHP. When this file gets called by the form, it handles whatever was being passed to it by the form. So the only thing you'll have to change is what is the email address that you want it to go to, and if you want a subject line. So going back to the contact form here, you could see that we have the form tag is where this really happens. And in the form tag, you want to specify the file called send underscore form underscore email dot php. That's in what's known as the action. The method must be using the post attribute or the post value, and you can name the form whatever you like. So what happens is when the user fills out this form, they click the submit button. It then goes out and calls this PHP file. When you open up the PHP file, you'll see that it's looking for several key characters. So what I did here is I went out to the page, I read over the instructions, and it basically gives you the instructions on what you need to change. However, it is looking for these several key fields. A field called first name, last name, email, telephone, and comments. So back here in Dreamweaver, when I look at these fields, I could see that it's referring to the input type, which is text, and there it is. The field called first underscore name, the field called last underscore name, the field called telephone, and the field called email, and the field called comments. Those are essentially scraped out of the URL as it gets passed from the contact form HTML page over to the PHP page. So really you need two pieces for this to work together, and once you have that, you'll have a working form. I hope this helps. All you need to know is, what does your server require? What does your host require? Does it provide it, such as GoDaddy, provide you some help, or does your host have a specific string that you need to call? And what you would want to do is go and look that up on their host pages. That's all for now. Good luck, and hope this helps.